Karwana is a business growth strategist and CEO of She's Got Goal. She's an entrepreneur helping other women and minorities build successful and sustainable businesses. Today, we're going to be talking about really something, I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the show, and we've done almost 1,000 episodes, how to build a B2G business plan, right? Business to government. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And so tell us a little bit about, I want to kind of jump right in B2G, right? So a lot of people aren't talking B2G. So, and you really help people kind of figure out how to kind of move into this B2G world. So first, tell everybody what B2G is and how to do it, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here. And so basically, as a business growth strategist, I specialize in teaching small business owners in general how to grow successful businesses with specific strategies. And one of those things that I like to cover is there are 3 ideal business models for small businesses. So you're either a B2B, which is you're selling business services to other businesses, a B2C, you're selling business services to individual customers, which is like the long way to do business. Or you are selling your services to the government. So that's the B2G business model, right? And so what I found was that a lot of small business owners that have a B2C business model are finding themselves having to chase customers. They're closing their doors during pandemics when customers no longer have money, or they're switching the importance of how and where they spend their money, of course. And so one thing that I discovered is what I consider the $1 trillion secret to government contracts is that anybody can do business with the government. So you can be a sole proprietor, you can be an individual solo entrepreneur with a business and actually land multiple large 5, 6, and even 7-figure contracts with selling your services to the government. So the exact same thing that you're chasing thousands of individual customers trying to, at least have a 6-figure business, right? One contract with the government can bring you that and more.
Well, I mean, let's do it. I mean, you're I mean, I'm hooked. I'm hooked. So, right. So we've talked a lot about B2B on the show. We've talked a lot about B2C. Like I said, we've never talked really B2G. Yeah. So, so tell us the secrets.
Yeah. And so before I jump into the secret, I want to share with you how I discovered this thing, right? And I want to talk about
why I'm so passionate. I always love the rewind.
Like when I first started my business like 20 years ago, I actually took the leap of faith and quit my corporate job that I was working at. And although it was great pay, great benefits, like I started having children around that time. And I felt like I was missing out on first steps, first words, first everything. And I felt like my children were being, attached to the babysitter, and because I'm gone long hours working for someone else. And so that is the reason why I initially started my business. And so, but I did start off like most small business owners, selling my services to individual clients, the B2C model, right? I mean, that's all that I knew. I didn't know that there were other business models that existed. And so for years, I actually struggled to get my business off the ground, but I refused to go back to work, for someone else. But and so I needed to figure out a way to make it sustainable for me, but to also be able to provide for my family, but also be in a position to be able to never miss an important moment in my children's life. And so for me, that was important. And what I discovered was that as I was doing work with basically consumers, like individual clients and freelancing, I was trying to figure out, well, how were they able to build a sustainable business? Because they're way further along, in business than I am. And I'm just, I just happen to have them as a client doing this small piece, right? But one thing about small pieces is you need a million small pieces to make a whole, right? And especially when it comes to paying bills and to being able to cover your lifestyle. And so one particular business that I personally knew the owner, who was able to build a multi-billion-dollar business. Like he's from the same neighborhood. Like we come from the hood, the inner city, underserved communities, right? He was able to build a multi-billion-dollar business from the ground up. And I seriously took a look at him and asked, like, how are you doing it, right? Because like as a small business owner, of course, I've always feared asking people their secret, right? But I had to be bold in that moment because he looked like me. And I'm like, we come from the same neighborhood. Like, how did you do that? And so he told me the same thing that you're doing for me, you can actually do for the government. You can sell your services to the government, and they will pay you like 10 times more than an individual client would. And that's when I discovered the $1 trillion secret to government contracts is that you can be a small solopreneur and do business with the government. The government spends multiple trillions of dollars every single year on products and services with small business owners, and a percentage of that spend they're obligated to spend with small business owners, and especially small business owners that are of a socioeconomic disadvantage, background, which includes minority and women and LBGT and disadvantaged and like local small micro businesses. And so when I discovered that, then everything shifted from me having to chase customers and barely make it and trying to figure out how I'm going to sustain myself to landing my first contract, which was a small amount. It was $70,000, but it was for 28 days of work, right? And so it was for 28 days of 2 hours. So that's 56 hours of work for $70,000. And that to me was power, right? It made a difference. And so since then, that's what I've been doing. Not only doing government contracting for myself and landing multiple contracts, because there's no limit to how many you can land simultaneously, but also teaching other people how to do it. So that is the secret.
I mean, that's really unbelievable, and that is that $1 trillion secret that they have budgets that they need to spend, small businesses, minorities, etc. Nobody knows that. So how do you even where do you knock on the door?
Yeah. So, in the information, I always call it the $1 trillion secret, because I feel like this should be like plastered everywhere, especially across.
You talk about plastering. So Brenda Hines just wrote, "Great story. Thanks for sharing. It gives me hope." Right. So I think that's really important. Thanks, Brenda, for writing that, because it's, I'm 48 years old. I've been in business for 48 years. I consider myself pretty much in the know of a lot of things. I'm not perfect, but I've never even heard of this.
Right.
So I'm so grateful we got connected. So, all right. So where do you even knock on the door to start even looking to get the business, to even ask for the business?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. And so every government agency, and there's a million of them. So there's 3 levels of government. There's local in all the local agencies, there's state in all the state agencies, and of course there's federal with all the federal agencies. So they all have small business contracting opportunities in every single department. And so if you go to their website and look up procurement or how to do business with this particular agency, you'll find a lot of contracting opportunities that you never knew existed. And so, like I said, this should be.
So where do you go? So where you go and search by Google.
So there's plenty of places that you can search. You can search the particular agency website, like say it's the City Hall, right? You can the City of Los Angeles procurement or bidding, so you would actually go down to the city or to the agency, or for federal governments, fortunately they have a drop all site where all the federal agencies kind of drop their opportunities there, and it's beta.sam.gov. So if you go to beta.sam.gov, you'll see all the opportunities that exist for federal agencies. But on the state and local level, then it will be at the state and local level agency on their individual websites. Normally you'll see an area that says doing business with, right? And so it'll say, here are procurement or contracting opportunities, and you'll see those opportunities on those particular sites.
Wow, that's great. All right, so this is a PhD class today.
Yes.
When we got introduced through your booking agency, I just loved the whole energy of everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
But I had no idea we'd be talking about this. This is great. All right. So now you've told people where to go. What's kind of the system? I know we briefly talked right before we went on air. You're like, John, I got this 5-point system I want to tell everybody about. All right, tell us. Share, please.
So basically, I've covered like a couple of the things that I wanted to share. One is that the government is one of the largest, of course, contractors and purchasers of services, but also they have a specific budget that's set aside for women and minority and small business owners and disadvantaged businesses across board, that they're obligated to spend money with you, right? But also, as a woman-owned business or minority-owned business or whatever, LGBT even, or disabled veteran-owned business, right? You can't just be that. There's a specific registration that you have to go through to identify yourself in those socioeconomic disadvantaged groups, right? And so there's a special application. And so I actually take the whole entire system and strategy of, learning about getting started and how to actually do this and break it into 3 simple steps. The first step is the business foundation. So that's called B, right? So 3-step BCP. The B stands for business foundation. And so as a business owner, there are fundamental things that you have to have in business to have a firm and serious business, right? And that includes like not only your business license, but your Dun and Brad number and EIN. Some people have these things, but some people don't, an actual business location. So those fundamental documents, right? But then we move over to, now I want to go after what is set aside for me. I'm a disadvantaged small business owner, and I want to go after contracts that are for disadvantaged business owners, right? So you have to go through the C part, which is step 2, certifications. So there are certifications on the local, state, and federal level that you have to apply for to officially become a disadvantaged small business or a woman-owned small business. And now that gives you leverage to go after those contracts that are set aside for you. And then the third step, which is the P, it stands for proposal. So once you've done the footwork on step 1 and step 2, now all you're doing is rinsing and repeating part 3. And that's basically looking for opportunities and bidding on them. That's it. And that is something that you can do forever in your business until you're ready to retire or pass that business down to a family member or someone as a legacy.
Wow. So this is with government. I think with small businesses, this just kind of comes to mind. One of the things that's important is cash flow. I don't know this as a fact, but I have heard that sometimes government agencies, don't pay, net 15 or net 30. What is their payment schedule like? Yeah. So as people are diving into this as kind of a whale in a way, they understand also their cash flow.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for the most part, most contracts are negotiated at a 30-day net pay, right? Okay. Sometimes on the city local level, it may be a 60-day or 90-day on the city, the local level. But because you have the ability to land multiple contracts simultaneously, it fills in the gap. So you're not waiting 3 months or a month or whatever. You're getting at least huge amounts of revenue, on a monthly basis. And so that just kind of like puts it injects, basically into your cash flow. So you have the ability to sustain yourself because you're landing large, like we're talking about 5-6 figures. Like I've generated multiple 6 figures in like a 6-month period with government contracts, very part-time, on a part-time basis. And so it's possible for anyone to be able to do this. And so cash flow is not an issue. It's just building the momentum to get to the point to where it's not a problem if they pay you 30 days, 45 days, or 90 days. It's not an issue.
Well, and what you're talking about, and I, I always love talking to other business coaches. As a business coach, we're always talking to people about managing your pipeline, managing your cash flow, understanding how you scale, how you delegate, the time that you're allocating. But one of the things I really love what you're doing, and this is really the foundation of the show, is sharing this information, because you could easily just kind of not share this with anybody. And because that your competitors or people that do what you do or think they do what you do, right, are watching the show and you're educating them. But that's why on the show, even as a business coach, I love having other business coaches on, because I learn just as much as anybody who's listening. So I appreciate the whole foundation of selflessness and giving to help other people, especially small business people. And I think this is where it means a lot, like the Brendas of the world who are looking for that piece of hope that they just can't find. And I don't know of any book or article that I've read that makes this very obvious that this is even something that is
Right.
accessible or now, in the
Yeah.
forefront of everyone. So I just want to kind of thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And I want to rewind a little bit and talk about boldness, the boldness and the courage needed in 2021. We are all coming off of, this crazy 2020 as we sit here December 16, 2020, and there's video fatigue, there's burnout, there's, but yet I still think people have hope that great things are around the corner. We have a new year. We have a new vaccine. We have the Dow, which is above 30,000. We have a new president. We have new energy. We have a lot of things changing.
Yeah.
It require a lot of, I think, courage, resilience, and boldness as we enter this year, because I think that once things start to get back to normal, April, May, June-ish, things are going to accelerate very quickly. So I just would like your 2 cents on that and your words of wisdom to the small business person out there who has struggled and, can see the light around the corner.
I definitely want to say this one thing. During the pandemic, the government last year in 2020, well, let's just say in 2019, the government spent $6.9 trillion on business services with small businesses. In 2020, which is the year of the pandemic, the government spent $9.9 trillion, right? So that's almost $3 trillion more, right?
Yeah.
And since September, which just, we're still in the quarter, the first quarter of the new fiscal year, the government has already spent $497 billion, right? And so with that said, all the small business owners that have a leg in, you don't have to, give away your B2C or B2B model. But if you have a leg in B2G, like selling your services to the business, those are the businesses that are sustaining. Those are the businesses that are still landing contracts, that are still thriving, that are still open, that are not in danger of closing their doors. And so there is hope, right? But it's definitely something that small business owners have to be willing to learn how to do it and be willing to do the work, right? I have a favorite quote by one of my success leaders, Tony Gaskin. He said, if you don't build your dreams, then someone else will hire you to help them build theirs. And the reason why that resonates with me is because it talks about building your dream. Like, we all had a dream. You got into business because you had this amazing dream, and you have to continue to build upon that by learning new things and being willing to step out of the box, right? To implement things that's going to save you, right? And that all comes from forward thinking and thinking forward. The pandemic is not going to go anywhere. Chances are 20 years, there may be another pandemic, and you have to fail-proof your business with something that is guaranteed. And the government is guaranteed going to spend money. If you are in business, if your business has a basically solution, right, to what's going on now, whether that's gloves or hand sanitations or janitorial cleanup, or you're special certified for COVID cleanup, or you have some PPE gear or whatever it is, some type of health thing, right? Then now is the time to do business with the government. Yeah. Even if you, it doesn't matter if you sell food, right? Selling food to the government, you can do that right now. I have clients that are selling prosthetic wigs right now and landing contracts right now for that. And so if you don't think your service is valuable, check the numbers. Go to usaspending.gov and look up the history and the data and the real information that's happening right now, because it's happening with or without you. And you talked about how some entrepreneurs don't want to share the information, right? And I consider that the crab in a bucket mentality. With government contracting, there's so much, there's trillions of dollars on the table, and it's enough money for every business to win, right? To land contracts and to work together. And it's really, at the end of the day, it's about what can you do as a small business owner as you grow in business and as you begin to generate the revenues that you want to generate. Maybe you can be the employers of tomorrow, and that's really what it's all about.
I love it. Yeah. I love it because, there's 8 billion people in the world. There's plenty of business for everybody. And, when you have an abundant mindset, great things come your way.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really, really important to have an abundant mindset. I mean, if like your website and my website, there is so much free content that you could get lost in all the content on both of our websites, right? And so, and when you give, it really comes back tenfold.
That's true.
And so I think that's great. I want to rewind just a little bit, and just kind of hear how you even got into this business. And I want to kind of tap into the courage that you had to leave your business and start your own. Because I think there's a lot of people that want to do that, but that's a scary step, right? To have the hope, to have the faith in yourself, to invest in yourself, to be ready for that. And so just kind of rewind a little bit and just kind of tap into that moment and share that if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that my courage to step out on such faith actually stems from like my childhood and how I grew up. I grew up in a very underserved community where there was a lot of blight, of course, a lot of violence, a lot of drugs and all that. And so for me, everything about life was about survival. And so for me, when I started my business, I still had that survival mentality. I didn't want to be a statistic of my environment that I grew up in, but I also didn't want to be a business statistic where statistically they say that you're supposed to expect to fail in your first 2 to 5 years of business. And if you can make it to your 5th year, then you're doing well, right? I didn't want to follow the trends and to follow what has been laid out, because I knew that there was another way. And so for me, it was just really about failing forward a million times until I figured out what really worked. And so I did that. And so it was scary leaving what is guaranteed every 2 weeks a paycheck, guaranteed a retirement, guaranteed insurance and everything like that, to step out on your own. So the thing about stepping out on your own is this: you're at risk of losing it all, right? But you have to be willing to do all the work. And so for me, initially, I did worry about how am I going to retire, because all the money from my 401k from my previous job, like I burned in my 20s, because I was young, right, and wasn't thinking about the future. I was thinking I'll get there when I get there, right?
And your 20s, they say your 20s are for earning. Excuse me, your 20s are for learning. Your 30s are for earning. So that
earning,
right.
Yeah, and so basically, once I learned about government contracts and how powerful it is and how the revenue, and this is why I say it's really not about the money, it's what you can do with the money, right? Because now I'm in a position to where I can invest in my own SEP IRA, my own, 401ks, and in my own future and retirement, because the money is there with the government, right? Yeah. And your services are valuable with the government, and they don't pay you penny pitch, right? They pay you your true value, and your value is worth a lot more than what you may think, right? When it comes to government contracting, I have actually worked with clients that have landed multiple $1 million contracts right here in the pandemic, here, recent. And so
I want to pause you for 1 second. I want to pause one thing you said, Karwana, because you said the government knows your value. I'm a big believer that everybody needs to get grounded in understanding what their value is. You must know your value. You must understand what your hourly rate is. You must take time to kind of pencil out the value. Yeah. There is so much value in an idea. I see it all the time, and I'm sure you do when you're coaching clients.
Yeah.
One idea can turn into $1 million idea for a business. And it's all the nuances. And I think I just want to kind of highlight this because I see it all the time, is when people are really good at something, they don't realize it's a gift. But we all have these unique abilities that come so naturally and intuitive. And we almost feel like the universe is allowing things to kind of flow through us. And that's where your unique ability sits. And that is valuable. And you can put a dollar amount on it. And you can also be a conscious capitalist and be a evolved person with a big heart and still make a lot of money. So you can help more people. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And with that said, I want to bring on I want to use a very, very simple example of how you can actually unlock your value, right? Let's just say there's a individual small business owner who start off with her own t-shirts, right? And I like to call these t-shirts boo boo kitty t-shirts, right? So you have cute little t-shirts that say boo boo kitty, and you're struggling as a small business owner because not everybody wants boo boo kitty t-shirts, but you're so passionate about selling your brand, and you're so passionate about selling your t-shirts, and you're maybe selling them at $25 a pop, right? Let's just say that for this particular scenario. However, when you discover that the government buys t-shirts, they may not want Boo Boo Kitty on it, but you have to keep an open mind. If you're selling t-shirts, then it will make sense to sell t-shirts to the government, and they're buying them by trillions of t-shirts at a time, right? And so one contract could be a multiple $1 trillion contract, right, for you. And so then you understand your worth and your value, right? It just takes a little bit of stepping out the box and thinking, like, how can I make what I do and what I'm so passionate about fit what the government or whoever this big giant, this client, fit what they want and they desire, right? Because you got to think about it. There's people in the Navy, there's people in the Army, there's government officials, and they wear clothes, right? So you can sell that.
Everybody wears right. Everybody likes a good t-shirt. But I just want to go back also and point on one thing that that you touched on a little bit about how you grew up always in survival mode. But you didn't get stuck in what you called the statistic that was in your whatever, right? With a statistic. And so I think that happens to a lot of people in many cases, no matter where they grow up. They kind of get stuck and they have this potential value that they are worth. And I just want to empower people to double, triple, or quadruple that and just reset that number. Because sometimes people say, well, I feel guilty of making more money than my parents. I feel guilty of making more money than this. I feel like this and the other. And I sometimes see people that are charging, $25, $30 an hour when they should be charging $500 an hour. And so it really kind of tap into that. And it's hard to figure it out for yourself. So you've got to reach out to a mentor or a coach that can help you move in that direction. Karwana, this has been amazing. I'm going to for sure have you on the show again. I can't wait. I feel like I could talk to you for 2 more hours.
For sure.
You ready for a quick speed round?
Sure.
Okay. Best piece of wisdom you ever received?
Can you repeat that?
Of course. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the best piece of wisdom that I've ever received was to never take no for an answer. Never take no for an answer.
Favorite book and why?
My favorite book, and I'm glad you asked, is John Maxwell, Make Today Count, because it helps you as you become this busy entrepreneur. It helps you to kind of know how to prioritize your day so that you can be more productive in your efforts every single day as an entrepreneur. Yeah.
One piece of advice you would give somebody who's feeling stuck right now?
I would say go back to the drawing board and absolutely write out what are the steps that you need to take to reach your goal, right? So that's basically what I would say.
Okay. All right. Good. Fast forward 100 years. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I want my legacy to be a million other entrepreneurs selling their services to the government, building family legacies, buying back the block, being philanthropists, employing people of tomorrow, and passing on that information to other small business owners.
I love it. Define yourself in one word.
Motivated.
Last question. One piece of advice you would give somebody graduating college today?
I would say, design the life that you want to live. You have the power to do that. Just because you graduated from college doesn't mean you have to graduate to go work for someone else. You can graduate and become the employer of tomorrow.
I love it. Karwana, tell everybody your ideal client and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, my ideal client are small business owners that are looking for a way to build sustainable, consistent income, get regular paying customers, and to get paid top dollars for your work. And how to get in contact with me will be I have a site called qualifyforgovernmentcontracts.com. Again, that's qualifyforgovernmentcontracts.com. There's a free training on there. You can schedule a call with my team members and we can talk about how I can help you in your business to grow it sustainably with government contracts.
All right. What about She's Got Goal?
Yeah. So She's Got Goals is a coaching consulting firm actually that is designed to empower other women on how to start and grow small businesses strategically. So we talk more about those who aspire to become entrepreneurs, how to build that foundation, and those who are already business owners, how to take your business to the next level.
You made my week. You made my week. This was such a great interview. I was looking forward to interviewing you just regardless. I love talking to other coaches. And this was great. You got to come on the show again. I appreciate all of your wisdom. And mostly, and again, I'm going to go to this. I appreciate your open heart to share your words of inspiration, your ability to help people not only grow and get started, but identify their worth and that making a lot of money is good, and that you could be a conscious capitalist and you can do good for the world, make a lot of money, and help more people by doing so. So it was great. I appreciate everything you said today, and I'm looking forward to having you on the show again real soon. If anybody needs Karwana, please reach out. And there's a lot of people watching, so please share this. This is live on LinkedIn right now, Facebook, and YouTube. The more that you share it, the more that Karwana's words can help and inspire and help other people.
Thank you.
Don't hang up when we stop going live. I want to talk to you for just a quick minute. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your participation. Thank you so much.